again.
Hello, hello.
Are you ready for this? Okay, trigger
Hello.
line for today.
Yeah, quite a funny one because we took it from Bon Apetit magazine. It's a summer issue. And I asked Ces, give me a number. And so she said the number, right?
Wait. I
But
wrote about it, so don't tell them.
oh, okay. So we landed
This phrase.
from this magazine. Go
Yes.
ahead, please.
When in doubt, keep it simple. Like this moment when Lee and I could not find a trigger line to work on. She picked up the latest issue of Bon Appetit from somewhere
See?
near her desk and asked me to give her a number. I picked the number 13, which brought us to a food ad. And so we decided to go to page 12, where she zoomed into a photo of a rubber-based dessert. She started reading the caption, "When in doubt, keep it simple." And I jump on it and say, there. So this is today's trigger line. I have this great tendency to overthink, so much so that it was one of the biggest reasons for me agreeing to go into this anti-anxiety and depression medication. There were countless nights that I would lie awake in bed, unable to sleep, my brain endlessly ruminating, spiraling into depths, going over and over past incidents. Some of them were so insignificant that I would not even remember what they were the next day. But when I get into these episodes, I'd be so drowned in the memory of those moments, sometimes cringing with embarrassment, sometimes in tears for shame or pain or anger. Yes, I cry when I'm angry. I otherwise do not know what to do with the emotion called anger. Okay, so I don't know how that trigger line took me here, but that is what this liminal writing practice has allowed me and Lee. We are able to use these triggers as launch pads into that space between the sublime and the obvious, the unconscious and the conscious, the awakened bits of ourselves and the corners that have chosen slumber. I have recently discontinued my depression medication, a decision I made with full awareness of the risks to my mental health. I felt that I have been on steadier ground of late and have done a lot of intense work and gained some new tools that I could only fully test if I allow myself to plunge back into the nakedness of my day-to-day, moment-to-moment experiencing of this, my life. It has not been easy. I did not study and understand the range of physical side effects that can be suffered by one's discontinuation of SSRI antidepressants. I had the whole gamut: brain zaps, weepy episodes, dizziness, fatigue, flu-like states, manic moments. The latter I was able to channel to OCD-like hours of rearranging the flat, filing the comic books, cleaning each tile of the kitchen floor by my hand and on my knees. Do I have doubts? No, not now. It's simply that.
Okay.
I tried hard to loop it back.
Wow, that's where you landed. Okay. It felt like you were walking with me on a labyrinth. But wait, we'll process later, right?
I
We'll process
know.
later. So once again, when in doubt, keep it simple. I grew up with a mama who had worries and doubts about her ability to create a stable future for her kids, about how her children would fare in a world without their father, having questions on how she would guide her kids to be exemplars of the best their name had to offer. These doubts, stones in her pocket that weighed down the lightness and buoyancy of her being. Now I carry some of these stones in my pocket. My fingers graze the well-worn sides, perhaps as a connection to Mama, perhaps as my own, these doubts. But I do not feel weighed down. These stones, talismans to a past where a woman carried doubts so her children would not have to.
I was saying
That's
that
it.
was so nice. It feels so warm.
I want to connect it to what you said about So if you read it
Mm.
just as when in doubt, keep it simple, but then how our mind and emotions and our state bring us to different ways. Because I thought I was going to write something that was akin to being light because of what the words say.
Right.
It's
Yes.
simple, and
Yes.
because it was picked up from a magazine. So you're thinking, oh, it's going to
Yeah.
be fun.
Yeah.
Right? But then my mind went to how mama was with doubt, because that was the environment,
Yeah.
what parts of the conditions that I grew up in. And last week, I was looking through one of my USBs and I was trying to look for a photo, and it landed on a folder that said diary, Mama's diary of Gugay and I. Mama had a habit, which she picked up from her father, that she wrote from 1966, the year I was born, to 1980. And so there were entries, short, long, but each month almost for 12 months of our lives from those years, she wrote about it. So I said, what a
Wow.
gift that a parent spent time to record what her kids were doing and what was news of that day, of that year, of that month, right? So I'm thinking, this is so
That feels
precious
better than photographs.
in a way, because it brings me to like actual antiques, because she quotes me in the things that I was saying as a
Yeah.
kid. So there's stories. So I'm thinking
Wow.
these are precious, I think more precious to me than gems that she has left, because it connects me to who I was as a kid. And there were realities there that I think shines really a light on who I am as a trans man, because there are like snippets there of what she was telling about even gender that could tell somebody, oh yeah, look at that kid like really was a guy. He had the soul of a guy
Oh,
even then.
wow.
It was so cool.
That's
Let's
so
go.
cool.
How about for
Me,
you? Yeah,
I
when
know
you
it
were
led me to
writing.
that. I was like, simple. I had been for, I guess, most of my life, been complicating my own story in my own mind.
Yeah.
That's why, this overthinking and ruminating and brings me, but I think, to be kind to myself, the explanation I can think of is
Yeah.
that the abuse from my young age
Yes.
was something I couldn't understand. I couldn't put a name to, I couldn't label. So that I was always then into this mode of trying to make sense of things, trying to find explanation, but on my own, because there was no one to
At a
process
young
that.
age, trying to
Yes.
make sense
So
of.
I think it became kind of a whole way of being, where there would be situation where I would feel wronged, or feel uncomfortable, but my immediate reaction as a coping would to be freeze. About we had this, flight freeze. I had a lot of the freeze response, and it included numbing my feeling for that moment.
Yeah.
And then that, so that I'm not able to react and interact with the experience at that
Yeah.
time that it's happening.
Yeah.
I am able to do that at a later time when I feel safe, and usually it's when I'm alone somewhere else, or even years later, decades later. That's what's happening. And I go back because it's there, because it's still in my subconscious. It affected me, but I wasn't feeling it at the time, but it's there stored in my body memory or my cells. Ironically, because I'm in a safer space in my life. And then I go into a whole process of making sense of it. So whatever emotion would have been felt at that time, it becomes fresh to me now. So even if it happened when we were 16, it feels so fresh at that very moment. So I really get into depths of emotions. And usually it's negative, because
Yeah.
that's when I freeze, right? That's when I kind of go out of body, and when it's overwhelming to me. It happened quite intensely in the recent years, especially after COVID, because COVID was the kind of moment when everything, all my defenses collapsed. It was a physical
Yeah.
break. So that's, I think, what happened when we wrote, because it's like from the simple, keep it simple. Mine was like, well, I haven't.
Yeah.
So this next part of my journey is trying to teach myself to, yes, to keep it simple.
Something that you said earlier on, and check me if I misheard you. You said you felt wrong and wronged. Did I hear you correctly?
Yes.
So even as a child, then you felt there was a feeling of you were wrong. How could a kid feel wrong
I
when you
was,
were
yes,
not initiating the action at all? It was
no,
being
but there's a lot of
done.
self-blame when abuse happens to you. There's a lot of self-blame
Hmm.
because what was that? Was that me? You don't immediately recognize it as I was abused, right? It's I'm
Yeah.
dirty. It was you, because that's how at an early age the world kind of revolves around what you feel, right? So I had a lot of that. Was it something was wrong with me? And even now we kind of laugh at it now, but sometimes when Hector, for example, says something like it's messy right now, the medicine kind of case we have there, where all our, in
Yeah.
old age we have 1,000 supplements.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Medication. And it's kind of jumble all up, and then
Yeah.
he comments that it's all over the place, and I'm like, I get my immediate inner response would be he's blaming me, right? And oh my God, I'm embarrassed, and I can do better, and I should do this. And then I look at him, and then I'm like, you're not, when you say that, you're not blaming me, right? I
Yeah.
check, and
Okay.
then he
Okay.
goes,
Okay.
so that's what you've been telling yourself.
Yeah.
That is your story, right? But it's just the automatic responses
Mm.
that we're not conscious of. But that's my take on things that happen around me that builds the story inside me.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily how people perceive you, or perceive what you did, but it is how you think. Now I kind of laugh a bit about it because sometimes it's just stupid. No,
Yeah.
not stupid. I don't want to label it like that. You wasted a lot of energy and
Yeah.
go with it.
Yeah. And
But
part of it would be kind of chipping away on who you are, because I think that's what you thought of yourself then. And
yeah,
I think it's good that now, in this period of our lives, then we realize, oh, okay, yeah, it's a story then, and
yeah. That's the
can,
beauty of the process. I mean,
yeah,
of evolving as a person, but also of just embracing all of
mm,
what you've been, all of the things that you are at this stage in our lives, right? It's like,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then you can have space to really be the great being you are. All the potential,
no, for sure,
the potential for
absolutely,
greatness it just opens up, because it's like, oh my God, I could really actually I'd be even better, and even what I've done has actually been really good, but I didn't see it like that, right?
uh-huh,
And I've achieved so much, but it's not internalized that you've achieved. And so you
yeah,
realize, okay, not bad,
at
Says.
all,
Not
at
bad.
all,
Tap on
yeah.
my own shoulder, not bad. And here you are, in this juncture again of a new kind of beginning. There's so much more ahead.
Correct, correct. One of the things that you just said that I again want to pick up on, because you said, like, this is all that we are. When you look at what happened to you then in our youth, and then it's cumulative, right? So everything in that experience builds. I was going to connect it to when you were doing the prelude to your not a prelude, it's actually part of your writing then, and you were referring to me as her, right?
Oh
and
yeah.
so and then
I
I
still
kind of
struggle with the pronoun. Oh my God.
and I kind of like piped in. I said, like, he. And then now I said, but I don't need to cut off Cess in the way that she's writing about it, because that's part of our shared history. She
Yeah.
knew me then, what
Yeah.
I was presenting female then, as the
Yeah.
construct of what people saw me. And in also my part in it of like trying to be, oh, okay, so this is how people see me. But now in this age where I've medically transitioned, when I've
Yeah.
done the social transitioning, and I also know that it comes, when you say it, I know it comes from a place of love, because
Very
it's our
much so.
shared, it's
Because
our
you know, the
shared
entire
history.
beginning, I was using the she pronoun, right?
Yeah,
It never came out as a like a gender label or anything. It was just Lee,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
And that's what's good because I know that you know too that it's just my acceptance and love for who you are is just
Yes,
there.
yes. No, I know that. I understand that. And I wanted to bring it up. You know, if they're like for folks too who are someday down the road, you know,
Mm,
chiming in and listening into this kind of conversation, if it
mm,
helps any, especially for trans folks who are
yeah,
doing that transition and in
yeah,
the way that they're relating to friends, good
yeah.
friends that are in that space of like, then how do I relate? This is still something that I love. We have so much years that
Mm,
we've shared together in history and experiences. So what is that like that kind of mindset? So I guess what I'm trying to say is there's also a bit of a leeway of an understanding because you know who your friend
yeah.
is,
But
right?
this would be a really good topic for another kind of conversation with us, how we
Mm,
can share this for people who now that I guess hopefully the world is more open to people being fluid and transitioning
and non-binary, yeah,
their to their gender or personality or identity of choice.
yeah,
How do friends and family also how they operate in such a change, a shift?
yeah,
My takeaway from all that would be the core of the person does not change. You are who you've always been.
yeah,
You've
yeah.
just managed to kind of find the expression if that feels not just comfortable, but just
True. I mean,
true. Yeah,
yeah,
gives authentic. That's authentic to who you want
yes,
to be. But who you are as Lee,
yeah,
I don't really think there's any difference. You know what I mean? You
yeah, yeah,
are who you are. You are
yeah,
the person I've known and grown with through decades. No,
yes, that's
so
true.
but but I think that's what scares people too. For us who kind of remain cisgender and then someone else shifts within
Yeah,
our environment. I guess those who go into that space of being scared of it or being angry or even betrayed or whatever. There's so many emotions, right, that they
ah,
choose to be in.
yes,
I think it's also from a space of fear that they think they're losing whoever the person they loved was,
yes,
but it
yeah,
really shouldn't be seen in that frame. As I
yeah,
said, it will be good
yes,
to
I think
dive
so.
into that, no?
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, because we've talked for too long now.
I know. We got
All
like
right.
we can chunk it up, right?
Yeah,
We can chunk
let's
it
do
up.
that.
All right.
Okay.
Cool.